want to recap because I know I have a lot of new subscribers that don't know my background, and I just want to let you know that about 9 years ago I had 4 or 5 events happen to me within a 3-month period. My mother passed away. My doggy Toby died of cancer within 2 weeks. My husband filed for divorce, and I was hit head-on by a drunk driver. So one of those things is a lot. I had 4 of those things happen to me in a very short period of time. And I'd love to be able to tell you, oh, I handled it like a champ. No, I didn't. I didn't. I fell apart. And it was a long road back, but not as long as I thought it would be. And I learned some things along the way. And that's what I want to share with you today.
Life breaks everybody. It's just some people are stronger at the broken places.
On the road, headed back to New Orleans, driving in the country past old-timey scenes. Big birds were singing in the tall willow trees, mighty fine. 3 words written on a paper bag. I miss you was written in a message in black, thrown in a van 2,000 miles back. A better time. And how many souls and times that I've told, places that I'd want to be, and how many days when I could have stayed instead of just getting up to leave. And given we make time, I'll meet you down the line.
I am so happy to see you today. Thank you so much for coming back and seeing me and Desi. I hope you had a good, safe week. And you know, today I was going to do an Amazon favorites video. But last week I got a comment from a beautiful lady named Sarah, and she said, "You seem so happy and full of joy. That's never going to be me. My life blew up. There's nothing I can do to get back the woman that I was or the life that has been taken away from me." And she's going through a divorce. And she's 70. So I thought, you know what, let's do that today. Let's talk about when your life blows up. You know, not just one thing, everything just blows up all at once. That is something that doesn't happen to everybody in this world. We all go through tough times, times that really test who we are and what we're made of. But sometimes some of us are just given amazing circumstances, and we need tools to get us through this journey that we find ourselves on. So that's what I want to talk about today. And I hope we will all join in sharing what has worked for us, what got us through the toughest time in our life. And I'm going to share with you some very intimate things today.
On the road, headed back to New Orleans, driving in the country past
my finances collapsed, and so did my sense of well-being. I had to get myself somewhere safe Well, my housing blew up. I wasn't married anymore, and I didn't have the income that I had when I was married to Bill. So I had to find a place that was safe. And it didn't matter exactly like how big the apartment was, how fancy it was. I took what was safe. I took what I could afford, which was basically nothing. But I found myself a place where I could say, at least I have a roof over my head. And the grounds outside are quite pretty. It's by the woods. My apartment is so tiny. I remember saying to myself, I don't know if I can survive in this tiny little apartment. I was used to very large homes. Oh, aren't I fancy? But I could stand in my kitchen and see my whole apartment. It was 510 square feet. But I was safe. I was safe. I could make my rent. My neighborhood was safe. And I had a microwave, darn it. And I had my dog. I had my faith. I had my health. And from there, I would have to rebuild my life. But the most important thing right off the bat was get myself somewhere safe. Not fancy, safe.
And how many souls and times that I've told of places that I'd want to be, and how many days when
I would look in the mirror every day when I wasn't crying, and I would say to myself, I'm going to get my old life back. And that woman that I was, I'm going to get her back. I'm going to be strong again. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to live in a beautiful house again. I'm going to get the woman that I was back. And I feel, looking back on that, that was destructive. That thinking was all wrong. And I came to that conclusion about 6 months later that, you know what? The woman that I was is gone. You can't live through disasters. You cannot live through traumatic events without being changed forever. And I know change is scary, but also change is a breath of fresh air. We rebuild our lives, and we will never be the woman that we were. We'll be better. We'll be stronger. We'll be wiser. And it's so good to remember that we are not trying to find our way back to a path that we once walked. That's behind us. Our focus, everything that we do from now on, is going to be forging a brand new path towards brand new goals. We are brand new. And once I realized that, life looked beautiful again.
On the road, headed back to New Orleans, driving in the country past old-timey scenes. Big birds.
The next thing I wanted to touch upon is the makeover, right? I mean, you can't go through traumatic times without realizing, yeah, I've got to change some things within me. And at least for me, I looked like heck. I should show you some pictures of what I looked like when I landed in my apartment after my divorce. Hair, terrible. I had started gaining some weight, but I was very underweight. I looked, well, my skin reminded me of very fine leather. You know, the kind of leather you find not in a pretty handbag, more like the bottom of your shoe. It was terrible. Absolutely, my skin was But you know, my skin was terrible, I think because of stress, lack of sleep, crying all the time, and smoking.
On the road, headed back to New Orleans, driving in the country past old timey
I decided at the time that a makeover of how I felt inside and a makeover of how I looked outside, those were two different things, and that was just too overwhelming. And I knew it was going to take a long time to change how I felt inside about my life. So I decided to take a easier route. How about if I just take on a makeover on the outside? And that's what I did. And that's how I found YouTube. I got on the internet and I Googled anti-aging, how to look younger, how to look human. And lo and behold, I found all these lovely ladies that were, you know, around my age that were talking about how to look better. And they weren't, you know, trying to really sell me anything like the, you know, the people on TV. These were just ladies in their living rooms or their bedrooms talking about creams and serums and makeup and how to do your hair. It was like magic. So I started slowly but surely getting into like a skincare regimen and doing my hair a different way and wearing my clothes slightly differently. I mean, it wasn't like My Fair Lady overnight, but I was moving in the right direction.
And times that I've told, places that I'd want to be, and how many days.
One of the most important things that I had to do was I had to be my own best parent. And I know we're told to be kind to ourselves and, you know, practice self-care and be patient. And yes, all those things are important. But 10 years ago, I was way too patient with myself. I was too easy on myself. I let myself just sit there and stare out the window and cry for way too long. I had to become my own best parent. I had to every night make a to-do list for the next day. And I didn't want to do any of those things on that list. I didn't want to leave my apartment. I didn't want to get a job. I just felt so injured. I felt like I could not put one foot in front of the other. But I had to. I had to be strong. I had to stop babying myself. Enough time had passed, so I like to look back on that time as I became a parent to myself. I tried to show myself a way out of that depression and that despair. And the only way that I was going to get over what I was feeling was to join life again. And that's why those to-do lists were so important to me. That's why those to-do lists are so important to me to this day. I'm still my own best parent. I don't think that's ever going to go away.
It's so pretty, it doesn't even look real to me. Michigan is so beautiful.
Places that I'd want to be, and how many days when I could have stayed.
But I wanted to study women who found joy in their life after adversity. And it's to this day, it's so hard for me to watch somebody like in a YouTube video tell me how to rebuild my life. And they're like a millionaire. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with millionaires. There's nothing wrong with rich people. It's just they don't know what it's like when you go to the grocery store and you can afford one. Either you can buy the peanut butter or you can buy the jelly, but you can't afford to buy both. They don't know what that feels like. They don't know what it feels like to know that your electric is going to be turned off on Friday if you don't come up with $320. They don't know that life. So it's hard. It's hard for me to take their advice seriously. So I sought out women that had hit rock bottom. And you know, I never had a drug problem. I don't drink, I don't gamble, I'm not into any, I don't know, kinky stuff. I mean, sometimes when people ended up like I did, it's because of some addiction, and I didn't have that. But my husband did. And that's how I ended up in such dire straits. So what I did is, when I would be on YouTube, I would start listening to a lot of those TED Talks, and they would talk about all kinds of subjects. And they meant the world to me. And that way I could learn about women who had gone through much worse than I did and rebuilt their life. So the role models that I started to have in my life were so endearing. And sometimes when I would go to the thrift store, I would find like a piece of art, and then I would read about the artist's life, and her life would be amazing. And I took it as a sign, like, well, she made it. I can too.
The worst thing about loving you wasn't you leaving. It was hoping you'd come back.
There was a novel written decades ago called August. And the one thing I remember the most about that novel was the quote, "After the first hell, there is no other." And I often think about that quote when I look back on that time when all of those horrible things happened to me, and how I came out the other side so much stronger, because after the first hell, there is no other. It's like, oh yeah, life, what are you going to throw at me now? Very sad things can happen to me, but after the first hell, there is no other. So that quote has really helped me throughout the years. And one thing that happens when you're going through a very trying time in your life is you withdraw. No, I don't want to go there. I don't want to call her. I don't want to call my best friend, because all I'll do is cry and bitch, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to burden her. I don't want to call my son because I don't want to burden him. He has a full life. You know the drill. So we withdraw and we become isolated, and that plunges us into an even deeper depression. It's so important to find a way to get yourself out your front door and have things that you're going to look forward to. And a great tip that I got is call your senior center. And what they can do is send you like a little newsletter of all the activities that are available in your city. You know, trips to the museum, trips to the park, maybe parts of your city you've never even seen before, educational field trips. I know it sounds like kindergarten, but what the heck, right? And a lot of these things that they organize in the city are group meetups. So you never know, you're gonna make great new friends. So there's always a way to get around that feeling of loneliness and isolation. But I am well aware that you have to be ready for it. I put it off for years.
The leftover bits of my heart are crying out, no service. I am so sorry to disappoint, but you will not find what you're looking for here.
So where did this video end up? 10 years ago, my life blew up, and I shared with you these tools that I learned that would help me rebuild my life. And it didn't happen overnight. It was so slow going, but I was always going in the right direction. And many times it was 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and that is okay. No, I'm not happy all the time, but I have joy all the time, and I'm grateful for my life. I was never afraid of dying, but I was afraid of living. And I realized so many things. When my life blew up, I had to reboot my whole life, and I had to truly understand who I was. And for the first time in my life, when I rebuilt my life brick by brick, I knew who I was. And I wasn't scared anymore. I spent my whole life not really knowing who I was, and I was scared. That's the one thing that I remember most about my life, when I would be sitting with friends, sitting with clients, sitting with anybody. I was self-conscious. I was wondering how they were perceiving me instead of just being. And I was scared. I was scared I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't successful enough. I just wasn't enough. And I went through my life like that. Well, when my life blew up, something broke. There's something about facing death in the car accident and losing your mother. Whatever your crisis is, there's something about that that does change us, and not for the worst. We can choose for it to change us for the better. And that's what happened to me. No, I'm not happy all the time. I have bad weeks. Sometimes I have a bad day, but I never let go of the joy. And when I'm sitting with people, I never think, I wonder what they think of me. I'm happy. I don't care what they think of me. That you truly have come to a place in your life where your life is your own. Just being able to say that I am at peace for the first time in my life, for me, that's an earthquake. That's everything. I have never known peace in my life. I have never known a life that did not have drama, and I have that now. And I want that for you. I hope something I said today helps.
I miss you was written in a message in black, thrown in a van 2,000 miles back. A better time. And how many souls and times that I've told of places that I'd want to be.
Desi, what did you do with your little pink summer hat? You didn't like that hat? Okay. Can you shake? Okay.
Hey, look at this guy. Is that guy handsome or what? Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I loved every second of it, and it was a hard video to do, but I think it turned out good. I think it was an important video to do, and if you get time below, could you share something that maybe helped you during a rough time? Please have yourself a happy, safe, brand new week, and when you're done with your week, come back and see me and Desi, okay? All right, it's a deal.
I caught a glimpse of the sweetest girl's face I ever knew, and how many souls and times that I've told of places that had lacked to be. And how many days when I could have stayed instead of just getting up to leave. And given we make time, I'll meet you down the line.